It's Tutorial Tuesday! If you've been struggling to paint trees or create soft, dreamy forests, let me show you how. Stick around because this clip comes straight from my Foggy Forest tutorial and the full real-time version is available now on my Patreon page for almost every tier. Fog, of course, but we need to start with our basic shape. So I want you to grab your practice paper and your number, let's do a number 0. Our number 0 filbert brush, and I want you to wet it in your jar. We're going to use a tiny filbert brush for the background trees because they are smaller. Sorry, that was my cat. And as we make our way down the canvas, we're going to grab a little bit of a bigger brush almost every time just to make our job easier. So I'm taking this brush and I'm dunking it in and out of the water, rubbing the bristles on the side, tap off that extra water. Make sure there's none on the metal part there. And we're going to practice with just black for now. So you're going to pull out a little bit of paint from the side of your paint plop. Don't go right in the middle. You save a lot more paint if you pull from the side. If your brush is too wet, wipe it off. Okay, and I'm going to flip my brush and load it on both sides. I'm making sure here, I'm not grabbing more paint, I'm squishing the paint into my bristles and I'm making sure that this brush stays nice and sharp. You see that? I hope that picks up on camera, but the brush is sharp. I don't have a glob of paint. Oh my God, there's so much cat hair everywhere. I don't have a big glob of paint like this. If you do, you're gonna squish that on your plate and then make sure that your paintbrush is nice and sharp. So here's how I like to paint trees. I always start with a guideline or the trunk, but it doesn't have to be perfect because most of it gets covered up anyways. I like to start from the bottom and I'm holding my brush straight up and down. I'm not on an angle like this because if I am and I try to draw a line, my line is gonna be thick. If I'm straight up, especially since we squished our brush, my line is going to be nice and thin. See that? Okay. From there, let's say this is my little trunk. From there, I like to leave a little bit of the top alone, but I like to add texture. So some people will just start their trees. There's nothing wrong with that. I like to keep my brush on the sharp side and just gently tap to elongate that tip of the tree and kind of give it a little bit more texture so it's not just a boring flat straight line. Then I'm going to turn my brush on the flat side, and what I'm going to do is start almost near that little top of the tree, and I'm going to lightly press over that trunk, and I'm going to press and move my way down the tree. Okay. The filbert brush, when you press lightly, will separate on its own and kind of create its own little branches. If you press too hard, it'll just make a blob, but the blobs are useful for the big trees, you'll see. So for the small trees, you're going to press super lightly. And what you're not going to do is make your tree like this, okay? It's not bad, but it could be improved, okay? So if you did end up making a little ladder tree like that, I want you to change up some of the branches just a little bit, just so it's not so boring. Maybe add a couple more things in the middle, and then see it looks a bit more tree-like. As we work our way down the tree, I'm just gonna grab more paint. We're going to press a little bit harder, but also widen out our tree ever so slightly. You can also leave little gaps to show like some trunk if you want. And we just have to think that a tree is 360 degrees around. It's not just a flat thing. So I don't want you to just like make a line and then paint a ladder, okay? There's a lot of stuff happening. There's little branches in the front and everything, okay? So this is a nice, beautiful tree. So is this. You can also, again, make your trunk. Need more paint. A little less water. If your paint is see-through like that, that means you got too much water. Okay, you can also tap, again, the top on the sharp side. Turn your brush to the flat side, and then you can kind of like flick out some little tree shapes if you want. There's so many different ways to paint trees. Like, they don't all have to be perfect. Okay, we're gonna just practice basic shapes, but what's gonna happen once you get the hang of this is we need to think about trees all together in the forest. Okay. I hope this helped and you feel a little bit more confident with your trees now. And if you're ready to paint along with me with the full tutorial, head over to my Patreon page. I'd love to have you there. See you later. Bye.